guys, it's Abby from Autumn of Pelennor and this is my April wrap-up. Just checking I'm in focus. Hello. In my bullet journal for last month I wrote down all of the books just so I can keep track because some of them were at home, some of them are on my e-reader, things like that, so I'll be referring to this throughout the video. I read 7 books in April and I don't think that's bad actually because I finished my dissertation in this month, which is a 10,000 word assignment that you have to do at the end of your 3 years in higher education here in the UK, in university. And then it's the very beginning of May and I've just finished my degree in total, so it's been a bit of a hectic couple of months, so 7 books in April is really good, I think. The first book I read was The Gladiators from Capoeira, which is by Caroline Lawrence, and it's one of the books in the Roman Mystery series. I'm not entirely sure which number. I think it might be number 8. I really enjoyed this book. If I check my book, I gave it 4 stars. It took me a couple days to read because I was at my parents' house, so I was socialising with people rather than reading the whole time. But yeah, that series, despite it being a kids series, it's so accurate, so well written, so engrossing, and it can break your heart, so it's a really good series. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but this is one of the first nice days Britain has had in a while. So some person is blasting out music. Like, in a public space. It's not within, I live in a halls of residence and it's not within the halls. I don't like them. Moving on. The second book that I read in April was an ARC that I read on my Kindle from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley for any ARCs that I mention in this video, and it was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I had to check because I always say Alberts and it's not, it's Albert. I gave that book 4 stars. I read it in 1 day. I really enjoyed it. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is because of the ending. If you've read the book you might kind of get what I mean. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. And the ending's still good. It just felt a little rushed. Yeah, I think rushed is the right word. So yeah. It didn't wrap up fully and I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm going to read the sequel. That's my phone alarm telling me that my laundry's done. Shh. Like I said, I'll read the sequel, but yeah, I was a bit disappointed by the ending of that one. The second book that I read was also an e-arc, and that was Magnus and the Jeweled Book of the Universe by S.L. Brown. This was a novella, a kids novella, which is meant to be the start of a series, and the concept is brilliant, but the execution was lacking. There's potential there. There's really good potential with this book. I only gave it 2 stars out of 5. I've got a review of it up on my blog if you want to have a look, like a full review. But it just, I mean, the concept behind it was really good. I liked the environmental stance. I mean, fingers crossed, because I can't do anything now, I should have a geography degree, so I like the environmental stance of it. But it just wasn't done right. It was, despite the fact it was short, it felt like it took me forever to get through. And it wasn't that engrossing. I wasn't that bothered about any of the characters. And yeah, normally I'm someone who will read every book in a series just because I have to. I have to know how the story finishes. I'm not going to read the next one. Yeah, I don't really care. The next book that I read, I already have a review up on my channel about, and it was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I don't know if that's the right way to describe my emotions about it. I got so angry and so upset and so happy and so scared, but mainly angry. As one of my flatmates can attest, and his girlfriend, I would just walk into our communal space and vent Like, how can this happen? What on earth? So yes, I don't have the copy of the book anymore because I was doing a travelling book club thing with it, so it's been sent off to Amy, who's the next person, and hopefully she enjoys it. But it was a 5-star read from me. The next book that I read was The Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare. This book makes it look a lot thicker than it is, but the actual poem, it's a play. The actual play doesn't encompass the whole of the book. There's like an introduction part, so that you kind of know what you're going into if you've not read Shakespeare before, and then there's accounts and notes. So this is the actual play. It's not a poem, it's a play. I annotate when I read plays. I don't annotate fiction books unless I'm studying them for academia, so when I was back at school doing English. But I annotate plays, I annotate poems, and I annotate non-fiction. I think that just comes from that being a frequently annotated thing in school, and the layout's a bit different. So I feel like I can annotate, whereas with fiction I read quite fast, so I don't have enough time. I annotated The Hate U Give because that's what we were doing. We were annotating it and sending it round to see what people thought. But normally I can't annotate fiction reads. But The Comedy of Errors, I was genuinely surprised. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed Macbeth too. I gave both of them, which I read last month, and I gave both of them 4 stars. And I picked up those two and Othello in these sorts of mass market paperbacks because I felt like I should read Shakespeare, which isn't the right way to think, but then at the same time I'm really glad I did because I've ended up really enjoying these. They weren't quite 5 stars for me because they're meant to be plays. If I saw them acted out, I would probably give the plays themselves 5 out of 5, but yeah, they're not meant to be written down, they're meant to be performed. So yeah, it turns out that out of the 2 that I've read so far, I really like William Shakespeare. The only other one I've ever read at all has been Romeo and Juliet in school, and we didn't really study it properly. Again, that's my phone. Why do I not mute my phone when I do this? Moving on. Yeah, so we didn't really read Romeo and Juliet properly. I have seen it acted out, however, with the Leo DiCaprio film, which I really enjoyed. That would be a 5 out of 5 movie for me. So I think I do prefer them a bit when they're acted out, but I still really enjoy the written form of them. So yes, apparently Shakespeare is something that I enjoy. Next read for April was Other Minds by Peter Godfrey Smith. This is a non-fiction book about the evolution of octopodes, octopuses, I hate saying that word, octopodes, and their intelligence, which is very odd because they've evolved very, very separately from us, but they are one of the branches of intelligent life form on Earth. At the beginning of the book it says slightly that it's like meeting an intelligent alien, because we don't really explore the oceans too much and there's so much depth to them. But this book was really, really interesting. I have a phobia of anything that lives in water. I'm okay with the mammals. I mean, I have like a healthy fear of crocodiles. I don't have a phobia. But yeah, I freak out for anything that like lives in water. And this was okay. I was freaking out a bit at the beginning. But I kind of got used to it. I can look at the front cover without freaking out now, so... And I used to really love octopi. They were one of my favourite animals as a kid, purely because I was born in October. But yeah, it was nice to be able to read something like this again, and it's the first non-fiction I've read in a very long time. And yeah, I want to read more. I gave this 4 out of 5. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars out of 5 is that there were some parts that focused more on humans, and for a while I forgot that it was a book about octopodes, and that's not what I was there for. And the bits about humans were really the book would have been better without them, to be truthful. They didn't need to be in there, it was perfectly fine without them. I understand the reference to it because obviously to understand a lot of things such as the intelligence of another being we will link it to ourselves, but there was like a whole section and I just couldn't get on with that. That's not what I was here for. I was here to read about octopodes, not about humans. So that's why I marked it down. But other than that, I loved this, and there are some really cracking quotes from it because the author he has no chill, he'll just write anything. I mean, macarons that pass in the night. He references Blade Runner. So yeah, it's a very odd little book. It's not little, it's a decent size. It's a very odd book that was really, really enjoyable, really chill, and yeah, I can see why it was shortlisted for the Royal Society Insight Investment Science Book Prize 2017. That is a mouthful, but yeah, I agree with The Guardian. It's brilliant. The last book that I read in April was Davenant's Egg and Other Tales by Jamal Evans, and this was an e-novella. Beautiful English today. It was an e-novella, a collection of short stories linked to the Blandford Candy series, which is the Last Roundhead and This Deceitful Light are the two main books in this series by Jamal Evans. If any of you follow my blog, you know I love this series. I tweet about it constantly. They're so good. I was lucky enough to win both books in a Goodreads giveaway, 2 separate Goodreads giveaways, and I love them. They're so good. They're so accurate and dark and funny and written so well. I'll never ever stop being like, yes, everyone should read these. I think they should be a much more popular historical fiction than they are. They're just really good. So yes, Davenant's Egg and Other Tales focuses on more of the outskirts of the story, whereas the main books focus on Candy. And they have a look at some characters that we've only heard of by name, they have a look at some characters that we've seen and have left, and there are some new characters that are kind of mixed in, and at the end of it all the stories come in together, which I quite liked. I wasn't expecting them to wrap up and they did. I gave the selection of short stories overall 5 stars. There was one that was 6 stars out of 5. It was so good. And the lowest rated one I would give a 3.5. It was interesting and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favourite part of it. But I still really enjoyed it, so all the rest of them were 4 or 5. Brilliant short story collection. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you want to subscribe, click that red button down below to see more of my content. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, comment if you've read any of these books and want to talk about them, because I'd love to. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!